Welcome back. Let me talk in this video about the data types or variables. So to get started, I will just go to the source file and I'll create a new file. I will name it data types. Okay. So we know to write code, now we should write a function, then main, then open a bracket, then all code should go here. Before we start talking the data type, let me see why we should have a data type. So if I say a print line, I'm printing welcome to Kotlin. Is that right? What if I want to print this one 3 times? Okay, I would expect I would write this code 3 times because it's hard-coded code and I don't have a place to save it and get it back. So to see it 3 times, I should write same code 3 times. Now what if I want to update it? I should say, hey, Hussein, welcome to Kotlin, for example. Hussein, welcome to Kotlin. Hussein, welcome to Kotlin. Did you see? Like, no central information. Because there is no central information, I need to update it on all the places. Which is pain. The idea I want to talk about in this video is the variable. So, what's the variable mean? So, when you have you have in your machine a memory and look like a table. The memory will look like a table. Every memory location have an address and value. So address here and value here. So it looks like exactly a table. So if we define a variable and we give it any name, for example this address, we could give it any value. In our case, to define a variable, we should say val, then we give it name, any name. I name it str, then I give it equal whatever value. I want to give it this value. What I mean by that, I say, hey, I define a memory location, name it str, which will be equivalent to any number in hexa, and it will have, that location will have this value. Now whenever I want to use it, what I need to do is just call that variable, and I will be able to read the value inside that variable. To see how, I will just add a checkpoint here and try to debug it step by step. I say debug. Okay. So now I just, because it takes some time to, until I'll be able to run the code and see the data. So just wait a second, until it gets run. Here you go, the code's running. Now if you see, I don't have anything stored in the memory because this code is not running yet. If I just run one line, I see there's a variable named str, have this value creating the memory. Now if I just run this line, I will be able to retrieve it from the memory and print it here. Same thing for this one. Retrieve it, print it, retrieve it, print it. That's good. Now it's so easy just to go and remove Hussein, and still I will be able to have same code. So I just update in one place because it will affect all other places because it's saved in the memory. And this is the idea behind a variable. You just storage a place, but you should remember this code will be stored in the memory as long as the code is running. That means when the code reaches this point, all the variable will be removed from the memory, will be cleaned using the garbage collection that processing Java. So how I define a variable? I said I name val, then variable name, then equal value. So how Kotlin now this variable is string? You could say here string. This is also will work, but Kotlin say, hey, you don't need to mention string. I know this one is string. So you could write it only in this way. But when you have to mention string, think about, you just define a variable and you just in the second line you want to give it value. You just give it, define in the line, give it in the second line value. In this case, you need to mention the data type of the variable. Otherwise, Kotlin don't know what you're talking about. So you say, okay, this variable is string, so whenever you want to use it, you just say, okay, I want to give it this variable value. Now if I just run it, you will see I don't want to run it, I just want to debug it to see the result. So here we go, now there is nothing, I just run it. That means, hey, create memory location for variable named str and give it null. Null, that means no value on it. In this line, we give it a value. Okay? See, string have a value. Now I could print it. So just remember, there's two ways to define a variable. You could just directory, give it a value, assign define it and give it a value, like what you saw seconds, or you just do it in two lines. Like first you define it and give it a data type, then you give it a value. So this is basically how the variable could be defined. Let me just do simple example about me, my name, my age, and what about my GPA? Okay, so to define my name, I say val variable. That means I could read it only. Name is Hussein. As I said, I don't need to mention string here. They are Kotlin genius enough to know the data type. Same thing, I define a another val, I name it age. For now, I'm 30. And my GPA should say, give it data type. I say val GPA, my GPA 3.8. Okay, that's good. So I add in this code. Now I want just to print this information. I say just print, say string, name it user info. Just make my output nicer. So I would see user info, then I just print my info. So I say print line. I just make sure print line. I say the name. Make sure this one also a print line. Okay. And a print line the age, and the print line the GPA. Okay. This is three information. I just run step by step to see how the variables are created and how it printed. Here we go. Now I just define variable. Name Hussein with value, age with value, and GPA with value. Now to print, you see the console. I print user info. I print name. The value for name is Hussein. The value for age is 30. The value for GPA is this value. Well, it is nice to show the name equal Hussein, age equal 30, GPA equal 3.8, so people understand what these values mean. So I would say, okay, name this way plus name. This name is string. This is the variable. That means, hey, the name as a string is concatenated with the real value. So it will read this one. It will tell me name is Hussein. Same thing for age. And same thing for GPA. Okay. Now if I just print it, it will be really a bit nicer. It will show me like the name is Hussein, because the name will get it from the string. All the string name colon space. It will print name colon space, then the value for name. Age colon space, then the value for age. GPA colon space, then the value for GPA. That's so good. But if you see, this is not the nice way that Kotlin recommend. Kotlin recommend if you need to concatenate two string, you need to use a template. So if you click here, say, hey, convert it to template. Template means all what you need to do, just move the variable inside the string and add $sign before it. That means this one will just need to move it here and add $sign before it. This one need to move it here and add $sign before it. It is nicer, same result, cleaner. So whenever you want to print the variable in the string, just add $sign before the variable name and just print it. This is a way. Or you could just $sign, you open a bracket, close it, and you print your variable if you have multiple equation, and you will see later. For example, this printing this way or something like that. But for now, you just print the variable only, nothing else. Just say $sign the variable name. This is basically how to define variable for read only. What if I just want to go here and change the value for name? I want to update it to Hussein Al-Rubai. I can't. Why? Because I define it as a val. That means this variable is read only. You cannot update it. There's no way to update this variable. To make this variable updatable, you need to define it as a var. See, now I could update it and I could print it. Otherwise, val, I can't. So just remember, when you have a variable, you don't want people to update it, define it as a val. and you will not update it, just define the var. If you plan to update it, define it as a var. Think about, you have a counter, is that right? You have a count, and this count is, you define it first var count, and you give it value as a 1, and you just print it. You say count, whatever you have in the count. Think about, you just went later on, you say, okay, no, count, I need to update it to 10. This semicolon, you don't need it. Now, I just want again to print the count. I can't do that because I defined var. That's mean this read only. I cannot update it. So I should define it var, okay? To be able to update it. So what that took away from this video, if you need to define a variable and you assign it direct value, all what you need to do is just variable equal the value. Variable equal the value. If you need to define a variable, then you assign it value. You need to just, for example, you need to define a string. Then in the next line, you need to define this string a value. And then you say here, string equal whatever will come to Kotlin. In this case, this one need to have a data type. If it's string, string. If it's integer, integer. If it's double, it should be double. Whatever. You will, if you don't understand what I mean by, so this is name. This name should be string. This age should be integer because it's integer value. 30 is integer. GPA is double, so it should be double. But for these three cases, you don't need to mention this data type because you directly assign it value. And when you have a variable, you don't think anyone could update the value and define it as a var. If you think you will update the value, just define it as a var. So this is all about variables. One last part remains. It's about the null safety. Think about, you have variable, and this variable, name it department, okay? And you say this department should be a string. Now, if someone wants to print it, you cannot print it. Department, okay? Why we can't print it? Because department, you define it as a string here, will have a null by default. You need to give it a value. You need to say here, you need to say department, for example, give it as a software engineering, okay, whatever. So you give it a department. Now if I just run the code now step by step, see, I want to show you like how this code run. I don't care until count updated. I will care about department and after, but you would see like what I mean by null safety. So just wait seconds until get run. Okay, here we go. So I just have already, this line is yet run because I have my point here. So I already have a variable named string created because this one, my point is after that line. Now I have variable name it name it age, name it GPA, print them. Then I have variable name it count equal 1. Then the count printed, then count get updated to 10. Then I just go define department. See, departments get null as start point. For that reason, you cannot print null directory. There is no way to print null directory. For that reason, you need to give it department to give it a value. Then you could print it. But what if I just want to define a variable and start with null? Think about, you have some code, you want just to give the department null, and later on in the code you want to give it a value. To do that, you should add this sign after the variable, and whenever you call that variable, you should add these two after name of variable. In this case, because in the string, we should add it between this case. Okay? I told you a second ago, if you have more than variable information, you should add it between these open and close bracket. Okay? So basically, whenever you need the null safety, that means your variable should have start defined with a question mark. Then when you call it, you add these two colons. You will see this a lot. Now that means we told the Kotlin, hey, this variable could have a null value, but someone should assign value to that variable. If you see now, I could run the code normally without any issue, and I will see the output because we told the Kotlin, hey, this variable could have a null, but again, this variable should have a value before you call it. What I mean by that, if you just assign it null and try to run it, the code will be fine, will compile, but it will run out null safety problem. You will say, hey, null pointer, this variable cannot be null, should have a value, which is really good. This is like important thing in any programming language, to recognize if variable is null or not. I know it's maybe hard for you now to understand this, but just remember this, because when I add this sign, you should understand, hey, this variable could have a null value, but later on should have a value assigned to it. So here we're done. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.